Hi, I'm Mario, and I want to show you how you can create your own generalized AI agent with just a few clicks in FLUJO. First of all, you want to go to GitHub and you want to download or clone FLUJO. I'm personally very lazy, so I do that with GitHub Desktop. That means I open the GitHub page and I click this green button and I select Open with GitHub Desktop. GitHub Desktop should start now, and it should show you this screen where you can select the folder to save FLUJO in. I leave everything as default and I click Clone. Now, we have the source code on our computer and we have to convert that into actually executable files. I will do that by clicking the Show in Explorer button, which opens a new Explorer window in that location, and I will do a Shift right click and open a new PowerShell window here. After that, I enter npm install and npm run build. You can do that combined like I do with a semicolon, or you can just run that as separate commands. Again, I'm lazy, I don't want to type 2 times. Wonderful. Now we are done with the building of the server and we can start it. Let's enter npm start to run through. Once you see this message, backend startup state set to complete, you're ready to go. Just copy the URL and open it in your browser. Now, first thing we want to do is we want to set up our encryption key. I have mine ready here, so I will copy that and I will head over to settings. I will add a new global environment variable and I will call that however I like. In my case, I will just call it OR API key. Whatever you want really. I will paste my API key and save the changes. Now, we're done with that. Let's head over to the model section and actually create a model that will do the work for us. We go there and we select Add Model. Up here in the display name, we give the whole thing a name that helps us identify it. I will call it Gemini 3. Since we are planning to use OpenRouter, I will click the OpenRouter base URL and I will bind my API key to the one I just created in the global storage. So I don't have to do that over and over again for each model. Now, I select a technical name. In our case, I want to use the free Gemini. So I will say Gemini 2.0 and I select one of those. I personally like Pro Experimental, so let's go with that. Now, just for the sake of it, I clear the reasoning pattern and the tool call pattern because Gemini should be able to do tool calls without wrapping them into text. That's more or less only for local models, but never mind. Now we have on the right hand side a section where we can enter a prompt that is valid for this model and for this model only. So for example, this Gemini 3, I can tell him, you're a famous rapper. You can only speak in rhymes. And you finish all your messages with skr. I save that and now I can head over to the MCP section. So the MCP section is where you basically add functionality to your workflows. Let's say, for example, I want to write some files or execute some terminal commands. I just search the MCP server that does this for me, and I'm ready to go. This ecosystem is evolving, so you can find more and more servers each and every day. I selected this MCP server, MCP Essentials Windows, and I just copy the GitHub URL. I click Add Server in FLUJO, paste the URL, and parse it. After that, I click Clone Repository. Now, in the following screen, I verify the data that is pre-filled. So I check, is the server name right, is the installer script right, is the build script right, and all of that should be extracted from the README. And if not, you can just change that. So everything looks good. I go ahead and I click Install Dependencies. I check the terminal output here. That looks good. So I can go ahead and click Build Server. That looks good as well. I can do a test one if I want. And everything looks good. So I can update the server and we're ready to go. Now this server, as I said, it has some tools. For example, to read files, to write separate lines, to append text, search files, and so on and so forth. All kinds of tools. So let's now go ahead and combine that. Let's go over to the flow section and create a new flow. It automatically generates a start node that we can move up to not be in the way. I will now drag a process node in here and select the model. So the model we just created, Gemini 3, it will do the processing in that step. For now, I save. I drag that over here. I will add a MCP node to provide the functionality to the model. I click MCP. I select the MCP server we just installed, and I say, for example, in this particular case, I want it to summarize files, and that can be done by searching them and by reading them. So I want to summarize files to the chat, actually. So I select those two tools, read file, search files, I click Save Changes, and I basically just connect those two. Now, if we expand that, we can see this MCP server now provides those two tools to Gemini. We save that, we double-click Gemini, and here I can say, you please search the files matching the user description and you read them. Use the tools search file and read file. Or let's say not you read them and you summarize them. That's better. You please search the files matching the user description and you summarize them. Use the tools, search files, and read files. Let's save that. Now, all we gotta do is connect the start node to our process node and the process node to a finish node. So the workflow is quite simple. It starts here, it processes whatever is in here, and it finishes. Let's save that. So now, how does it all come together? It all comes together by basically combining the prompts from different points and rendering it into the model. So this one, for example, because it's a Gemini model, it knows that it's a famous rapper and it can only speak in rhymes and it has to finish all the messages with skr. And it has the general instruction on how to process the input from the user and how to use the tools. Looks good to me. Let's maybe rename that just to have it a little bit more understandable, summarize files to chat. Let's call it like that. We save that and we say rename, and we're ready to go. Now we head over to the chat section. We create a new conversation and we say, okay, summarize files to chat. Now I type, hey, what can you tell me about animals? Or let's say, what can you tell me about cats in C/demo? I send that, and now the model will be thinking and thinking, using the tools, and it will at some point come back with a response. So in this case, the response is, yo, let's see what we can find about those felines, one of a kind. I searched the files, it's my duty to find some info on that kitty cutie. Skirt. You know? And it actually uses the tool, and the tool gives a result, and so it now summarizes that. Okay, searched in CDemo, that's the spot, found some files, quite a lot. Cats.txt matched the name, no doubt. And lions.txt is all about those big cats with a mighty roar, living in pride, and so much more, and so on and so forth. So yeah, and now if we wanted to say, well, we could follow up on that, or we could also, let's say, change that. What can you tell me about, I don't know, technology in CDemo? Let's save that. And from that point on, it will refresh the conversation. And what do we have here? Let's delve into the text scene. In CDemo, it's going to be mean, and so on and so forth. It's using these tools. You can see it a lot. Yeah, and it's basically giving you the response. So what I want to say, or what I want to show you, is basically how to set up FLUJO, how to use it, and how you could possibly create your own very complex AI agent with just a bit of drag and drop and connecting tools to models. Have a great weekend. Bye.